Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're doing my most anticipated cozy mystery releases for the year. I have 15 for you today, and definitely stay tuned for the last one because I'm really excited for that one. So our first release is part of the Scottish Shire mystery series, which I just recently read the first book in. It's called Murder in a Scottish Shire. It's by Traci Hall, and the fourth book in this series, which is called Murder at a Scottish Wedding, will be coming out this year, actually on January 24th of this month, so very shortly after this video will be up. So for starters, I absolutely love the Scottish Terrier on the front of each of these books. I think Scottish Terriers are so adorable. General plot of this is that each of the books surrounds our main character Paisley, who is a single mother who also has her grandfather that is around and needs her help, and she runs this place called Cashmere Crush, which is a yarn shop, and she does like crocheting. She sells like handmade sweaters and things. The first book was excellent. I absolutely loved how the mystery unfolded and everything. It was such amazing details and the character descriptions were amazing. And this particular one, she's actually going to be the matron of honor at her best friend Lydia's wedding. So her best friend is moments away from walking down the aisle of the church, and Paisley's grandfather and her 11-year-old son Brody are both seated in the pews. Matron of honor Paisley, she's at her friend's side when her best friend Lydia cries out basically because she realizes that the Lucken Booth brooch her betrothed gave her is missing, and this is a traditional Scottish love token, and this gold heirloom in particular has been in the family for generations, and not wearing it could bring bad luck upon their wedding and their marriage, and they're very superstitious. So she is really distraught over this, but the real problem begins when she finds a distraught cousin who interrupts the ceremony and dies with the brooch in her hand. Lydia's fiance's family thinks that this is a huge, a result of the curse of her misplacing the brooch. So her best friend is freaking out, and Paisley's trying to figure out, was the intended victim the guest that actually died, or was it her best friend, the bride? So she's trying to figure out who exactly tried to murder someone. I think the brooch element is really interesting. I'm excited to read that. Like I said, I just finished book 1 in the series, and it was absolutely probably a 5-star cozy mystery read for me. Hit subscribe, stay tuned for my reading wrap up. I'll go into more details about that this month, but it was a really strong cozy for me, so I'm really excited to get into the rest of the series this year. Our next cozy is another one that I just started this last year. This is only book 2 in the series, so you're able to catch up with this really quickly if you want to. It's called Hot Pot Murder. It's part of the LA Night Market mystery series. It is going to be book 2 in the series, and this is written by Jennifer J. Chow, and I love the cover for this. Usually I like covers that are a little more vivid with their colors, but for some reason this kind of monochromatic cover I actually think is just really stunning, and it just is really unique. I really enjoy the look of it. But basically the series takes place with our two main characters, Yale and Celine. Yale is our main character, and she has her cousin Celine, who had traveled out from Hong Kong in the first book, and they're running a food stall together, and it's going very well. And so Yale and Celine's food stall business is going so well that they're actually invited to join this local feast for a bunch of restaurateurs in the area, so they're very excited about this. Everything's going well until the president of the group actually ends up dying from a literal shock at this meeting. So Yale and Celine, along with everybody else that was in the feast in this dinner, are all suspects in this crime, and unfortunately the police really hone in on one person in particular, and that is a close family friend of Yale and Celine. So they're really concerned about him, and they get involved in the case to try to clear their own names, as well as this family friend who the police are really starting to go down, really starting to narrow down their suspicions on. So Yale and Celine are on the case again. I loved this because in the first book, especially, Yale and Celine, they're kind of an unlikely duo. They weren't close at all as cousins. They have very different personalities and aspirations and things, but they really bond together in the first book, and it's really amazing to see. So I'm excited to see that continuation in this book, and I'm just really excited for this. Our next one is another book 2 in a series that I just started last year. It's called Peg and Rose Stir Up Trouble. This is part of the Senior Sleuths mystery, and this is going to be book 2 within the series. It's by Laurien Berenson, and this series is described as a Murder, She Wrote meets The Odd Couple, and an award-winning new mystery series, and I'm really excited for this. This is a spin-off from the beloved Melanie Travis Canine mystery series, so if you're a fan of that series, this is a cool continuation. But even if you haven't read that series, I haven't read that that series personally, you can definitely jump into the series with no problems. And I enjoyed this. Peg and Rose are very fleshed out, amazing characters. Basically, they kind of reconnect their sister-in-laws, and Peg is like a dog judge who like participates in like the dog judging and like shows world, and Rose is an ex-nun who actually married a ex-priest. And so they have some really interesting backgrounds. They really have a lot of history together, and they start to reconnect over a bridge club in the first book, which I strongly recommend. It was a really great book. And so Peg is a pretty closed off person. She hasn't dated since her husband, which is Rose's sister, has passed away, but Rose urges her to get back out there and try online dating. So she actually matches with a man named Nolan, and so far things seem to be good. He's attractive, he's intelligent, and he loves dogs, which is obviously a really big part of Peg's world. She's a huge poodle lover in particular. So they go on the date and they really hit it off, and Peg is actually starting to open herself up. She thinks things are going okay until Nolan dies under mysterious circumstances, and Peg starts to wonder if someone actually went after the first date she had in like a really long time on purpose. So Peg and Rose, who have, even though they worked together in the first book, they are still like cats and dogs, really. They have a lot of history, a lot of trouble history together. So even though they're starting to mend things, they still have a lot of animosity and like issues with each other, which is part of what I thought made the first book fun, because usually sleuthing duos get along pretty well. Like they're usually friends or family or something, and these two are family, but they really don't get along well. So they're starting to, again, having to put those differences aside and to try to figure out what happened to Nolan, and I think this will be really cool. I really enjoyed the writing. I flew through the first book. It was just a really enjoyable cozy, so strongly recommend that. So the next one I'm very excited for because it's part of one of my favorite bookish cozy mystery series, and that is the Scottish Bookshop mystery series. This is one of the books in the series, The Stolen Letter by Paige Shelton. The one that's coming out this year is called Fateful Words, and again, this is part of the Scottish Bookshop mystery series. It is book 8 in the series, and this will be coming out in April. I'm really excited for this. Basically, our main character in this is Delaney, and she's an American. I think she's from like the Midwest, and she actually moves out to Scotland for this really awesome opportunity at this eccentric bookshop where she'll be cataloging and like going through all these bookish like treasures, like treasure maps and old desks and old books and first editions. Every single mystery I've read so far from the series has had very strong book themed like vibes. Like there's been, you know, stolen books, there's lots of really cool things. I love this series. It's really amazing. So Edwin is Delaney's eccentric boss. He's like fabulously wealthy. He always gets all these bookish treasures and things that she gets to go through, which I'm jealous. That sounds like a really cool job. But basically he is out on a secret business venture. So he asks Delaney to attend this like literary meeting for him at this like lodge. It looks like it takes place during the winter based on the cover. So on the first night of the tour, the inn manager is actually pushed off the roof and murdered. And then shortly after that, one of the members actually ends up going missing. So Delaney is racing across the clock because she's worried that herself and the others might be in danger as well after the inn manager's like murder, and then she's also trying to find the person who went missing. So this sounds really suspenseful. I love this series so much. It takes place in Edinburgh, and I couldn't recommend it enough. The characters are so colorful, the setting is beautiful. I love learning more about Scotland. This is the second Scottish mystery on this list, so apparently that's something I'm getting into more and more, and Paige Shelton is just an excellent writer. I really recommend her. Alright, so this is another one. I just read the first book in the series, and book 2 is coming out shortly. It's called Murder is a Piece of Cake. This is a Baker Street mystery, book 2 in the series. It's written by Valerie Burns, and this book will be coming out in June, so about halfway through the year. So the main character in this is Maddie, and she recently moved from a big city after her aunt Octavia passed away and left her home as well as the bakery that she's running, with the condition that she has to stay for a year and take care of the property as well as her giant mastiff baby, who's featured on the cover and is very adorable. There were so many heartwarming dog moments in the first book, so I can't wait for that in the second book, but I'm so excited. So basically this one takes place in the springtime. It's a small town, New Bison. There's a spring festival just around the corner, and Maddie is under a lot of pressure to make this a really great event because her great aunt Octavia had just a huge personality, did things to the utmost, like the biggest level basically. And she wants to get the top prize and transform baby cakes into Southwest Michigan's must-visit bakery, even though she literally doesn't know how to cook. Like she's barely learning to cook in the first one, and she's getting tagged in a lot of photos and a lot of scathing reviews. It's not great. Unfortunately, there's also another twist to the plot where she is facing competition for the first time because a second bakery is actually opening in the town under a man named CJ Davenport, and he is a shrewd investor with a reputation for sabotaging anyone who gets in his way, and Maddie is definitely on his list for that. So she is in a particular pinch when Davenport turns up dead with a baby cake's knife stuck in his back. So she is trying to basically survive this because not only is she under suspicion because she had a good reason to take out this man, but she is just going through a lot. She's trying to manage this new business. She's trying to take care of a dog even though she's not a dog person, although baby is definitely warming up to her. She's trying to keep the bakery afloat, participate in this festival, and investigate what exactly happened to this man and clear her name basically. So I can't wait for this. This was a really fun one. I found that in the first book Maddie could be a little bit, like, I want to say just a little bit bratty. Like, she definitely had some like strong flaws that were coming through, which I really enjoyed. Like, I don't want a character that's 100% perfect, and I enjoyed seeing her develop throughout the first book, and I'm excited to see that continue with the second book. So this one is definitely on my must read this year. I'm so excited for this. Next, we have a book coming out in March, and that is called The Raven Thief. This is a secret staircase mystery. It's written by Gigi Pandian, and this is book 2 in the series. I did read book 1 in the series. I think it was called Under the Secret Staircase. I'll put a picture on screen, and I liked it, but I did feel like it had some issues with like pacing. Like I had a hard time following parts of the mystery, but I thought the characters and their backstories and everything and interactions were very interesting. So I'm definitely looking to give this series another chance to see if it like kind of improves upon that pacing part for me. And basically our main character in this is one of the coolest like cozy mystery protagonists out there, like easily. So our main character in this, Tempest, is an ex-magician. Like, we're talking a big time like Las Vegas magician, like huge shows, and it kind of goes into that in the first book. I'd recommend reading that first. But Tempest is basically working with her family's company, which is like a secret staircase company. They do construction projects to build like secret bookshelves and staircases and all of these cool things, which it reminds me of Scooby-Doo. I want one so badly. So Tempest is working on a new project with her family's business, and they're basically redoing this lady's house because she recently divorced a famous mystery author, and she wants to cleanse the house and redo it in her own, like how she wants it basically. Before they can start the project, they're invited to a seance to kind of cleanse the house of her husband's like just the vibes and like anything he left behind. They want to cleanse it of his spirit and stuff. And they're at the seance, everything's going fine, until the husband's body comes crashing down. I'm not sure if it's through the roof or off the balcony or what, but like he literally just falls and like he's there, like the body's there. So this obviously doesn't look very good for the wife who they're working on the project for, as well as the other suspects who are the people who were actually at the seance. And the police are unfortunately really zeroing in on Tempest's grandfather because he's actually covered in blood, so that kind of makes him stand out as an even more likely suspect. So she starts to look into the case and try to figure out who actually took out this guy. So this one sounds really interesting. I just love all the magical elements. Like, what a cool theme. I can't wait for this. It's gonna be good. I know it's gonna be good. I'm really rooting for this one. Next, we have one by one of my favorite cozy mystery authors. That's Jenn McKinlay. I've read her series A Cupcake Bakery as well as her Library Lovers mystery series almost completely, and I love both of them. But she also has a Hat Shop mystery series, which I previously thought was discontinued. However, much to my shock, when I was researching for this video, there is a new one being published this year, and there hadn't been a new one for like years. So I don't know if it just got rebooted or something, but it was expected to be over, but now it's back. And that is her Hat Shop mystery series. This one is called Fatal Fascinator. It's going to be coming out, actually it just came out this month, so if you're watching this, links in the description as well as everything else if you want to check it out. It is already out. This is book 7 of the Hat Shop mystery series. Our main characters in this are Scarlett and Viv, who are hat makers, and they have recently taken on a project to work for their frenemy, basically, and they're making the hats for her wedding. So they're putting aside their differences, but mostly because the wedding is taking place in a castle in Sussex, which, I mean, how cool would that be? That is really cool. Everything's going well. They arrive at the wedding, and unfortunately, the groom is found dead. And not only is this horrible news, of course, but then all these different scandals and things are coming to surface, including the groom's affair with one of the bridesmaids. So Scarlett and Viv are on the case trying to figure out exactly what happened to the groom, trying to settle things down, and it's in a castle. It's in a castle. That's all I need. That's all you need to tell me about a mystery, basically, is if it's in a castle, like, I'm already there. And I love Jenn McKinlay's writing, so I'm sure this one will be excellent. So another one I'm very excited for, it's part of the Noodle Shop mystery series by Vivien, Chien. I'm about I think I'm like 6 books into the series, and this will be book 9 coming out this year. It's going to be coming out in June. It's called Misfortune Cookie, a Noodle Shop mystery. It's book 9 within the series, and again, it will be coming out on June 27th, 2023. Unfortunately, there's really nothing I can tell you about this in terms of the specific mystery. There's not much of a synopsis anywhere that I found, but this does take place in Cleveland, Ohio. Our main character, Lana Lee, works in her family's noodle shop restaurant as a manager, and she gets into all these different hijinks and mysteries, and it's a really well-written mystery series. I've really flown through it this year. I just started it last March. I've already read 6, and I highly recommend it. The characters are just so lovely. They're very like fleshed out. The family dynamics and drama is very realistic for any family. The food descriptions are to die for. I've really enjoyed the mysteries. I think they're well thought out. So I can't tell you much about the specifics for this plotline for this new release, but I am excited for it, so I wanted to include it on the list. This next one I've never heard of, nor have I heard of the author. However, I love the cover and the name so much. I was like, this is instantly intriguing me. So this one is called The Wonderland Murders. It's a cozy craft mystery book, 1 in the series, so brand new series, and it will be coming out in February. This is written by Millie Ravensworth, and again, this will be book 1. It's a brand new series coming out. Look at how darling this cover is. There's like an Alice in Wonderland dress in the shop center. How I love it. I absolutely love it. Can't even. This series is described as quirky and funny. Our main character in this is named Penny. She has recently lost her job at an exclusive London hotel, but she is happy to take on a new project when her grandmother asks her to take charge at the Cozy Craft sewing shop located in a charming and rural town. Her cousin Izzy is also on hand as an expert dressmaker, and Penny has a good head for business, so the combination is going to be just a winning combination. Unfortunately, Penny is in town for less than a day when the local librarian is poisoned, and Penny thinks that she might even be accidentally responsible for the poisoning. So Penny and Izzy are forced to come together and become sleuths to uncover the true cause of the death and clear Penny's name. They're also taking on their first costume commission for their first customer, all while this is going on. So this sounds like a really interesting premise. I like I'm really, it seems like I'm liking the cousin and the main character. Like, this is the second one, I think, where I'm talking about a cousin and the protagonist. I like that combination. I think it's fun to have like family mysteries like that, and I love the idea of a dressmaker shop with this like whimsical touch. There's a couple titles already listed. It looks like several will be coming out this year, and there's one about like a swan dress, there's a sequined cape, there's the painted lobster murders, so that sounds like a very interesting and like creative series, so I'm very excited for that. Next is the 3rd book within the Cheese Shop mystery series. I did not get a chance to read the first book in the series last year like I wanted to, but it's still on my like top reads. I really want to get to it, so I'm including this on the list. This one is called Curds of Prey, a Cheese Shop mystery, book 3 within the series. It's written by Korina, and it will be coming out in March of this year. So Willa is preparing for a huge event that's happening. She owns her own cheese shop, and Willa's basically helping out at the wedding shower, not because she knows Summer personally, but because she's hosting a cheese bar, which, wow, if I go to a wedding shower, can someone host a cheese bar? That sounds delicious. And it's going okay. Everyone's a little bit of a pain in the Asiago, as the description puts it, which I thought was really funny. I thought that was funny. But everything's going okay until she finds the groom passed away. Then drama ensues. There's a huge panic trying to figure out what exactly happened, basically. And on top of that, the groom is not just anybody. They're actually the mayor's nephew. So the mayor personally asked Willa to take on this case and figure out what happened to his nephew. So I'm excited for this. I just love the theme of this. I love cheese, honestly. You tell me in the descriptions. If you had to give up one, cheese or chocolate? Because for years I would have said I would have kept the chocolate. But now I'm like, no, it's cheese. I love chocolate so much, but I would keep the cheese. I really would. So let me know what your answer to that question would be. Speaking of, there's actually not one, but 2 books in this series coming out, so I did want to mention the 4th title in this series. However, there's no description, so I can't really give you too many details about the actual plot. But the 4th book is called Case of the Bleus. I will put the picture on screen right now, and this one is estimated to come out in September. So there will be 2 releases for the series in this year alone, and that is amazing. So I really need to catch up and get on this because I just have this feeling it's going to be a really big winner for me. Next is part of the Odessa Jones mystery series. This is book 3 in the series. It's written by Valerie Wilson Wesley, and this book will be coming out in July. I read the first book in the series in the fall last year. It's a supernatural cozy. It was really good. I'm actually on hold at my library for the 2nd book right now. Odessa is basically a character who has some amount of psychic abilities. It doesn't give away too much about the plot or anything like that, which I did like, but she can kind of see these like shimmers or glimmers around people that kind of give her insight into their like emotional state, which can kind of help her with her sleuthing, and I find that to be very interesting. I think one of her aunts also has these supernatural abilities. Another part of her character is that Odessa is a widower, and the book, at least book 1, didn't shy away from her grieving that, and that was it was a really good part of her character in my opinion. And so Odessa's having a really good year because a lot of people are fleeing the cities due to the pandemic, and they are actually buying up properties in their town. So she works as a real estate agent as well as having a catering business, and so she's having a really successful year, as well as one of her co-workers. And her co-worker Anna, though, is, despite this really amazing year, she's very stressed out. She's acting very strangely, and soon after she's actually murdered in a hit and run accident. And Odessa is very concerned. She cared a lot about Anna, and she's just, confused about what was happening. And doing a little sleuthing, she actually finds that Anna was being stalked. So Odessa's on the case to figure out who was stalking her, were they the ones that hurt her, and just to get revenge basically for her coworker. I love the cover for this. I think they have like a really darker vibe to them, which is nice compared to a lot of cozies, and it just sounds like a really great mystery. Next, we have one from one of my favorite historical fiction cozy mystery writers, and that is Rhys Bowen and her daughter Clara Broyles, who's now collaborating with her. And this one is called All That Is Hidden. It's a Molly Murphy mystery. It's book 19 in the series, and this is estimated to come out in March. So Molly is happily married to a man named Daniel. He's on the police force. However, she is suddenly flabbergasted when Daniel tells her they're moving to a fancy new home and that he's actually going to be running for like some kind of political position, like a sheriff position, and he's running with like Tammany Hall, who has like kind of a nefarious reputation. So she's really concerned. She's wondering if he's getting blackmailed or if there's something he's not telling her, and she starts to investigate with this. Sometimes the Molly Murphy mysteries don't actually involve murders. A lot of them are just like historical ones. If you like learning about the politics of the time, I think it's a really good series for that. It's very interesting. It takes place in the very early 1900s, and Molly's a very feisty, spunky Irish-American character. I absolutely love her character, and this is book 19 in the series, so you definitely have a huge amount of reading to do if you pick this series up. Last one we have is by Ellie Alexander. She writes the Bookshop mystery series, which is one of my favorite culinary cozy mysteries. I'll link a video I did above if you're interested in learning more about culinary cozy mysteries that I think are really amazing. This one is called Catch Me If You Candy. It's going to be published August 22nd, 2023, and this is book 17 within the series. Currently, there is no synopsis available that I could find on Goodreads or Amazon or anything like that, so I can't tell you anything about it, but this is the cover. As always, it's a darling cover. If you enjoy reading about a baker, our main character in this is Juliet, but she goes by Jules, and she and her mother run Tort, which is the family's bake shop, in this really beautiful atmospheric place called Ashland, Oregon. It's got the most beautiful setting. There's lots of seasonal books in this series, it's very holiday and seasonal centric, so regardless of what book you pick up, you're going to get some really great seasonal vibes. I'm looking at this and it looks like a fall mystery to me with like the pumpkins. It looks like a Halloween actually, with the jack-o'-lantern and the pumpkins, so I'm excited for that. This one looks really great. Had to include it on the list. I'm sorry I can't give you a little more details about it, but that is the gist of it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please let me know, did I miss any anticipated releases for cozies that you are personally very excited for? Which of the books that I mentioned today are you most excited for? Or are any of these part of series that you personally read or that you are interested in starting to read? And thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I really appreciate when you guys subscribe. It means a lot to me, and I love to share more book releases with you guys. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!